Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kens TV in the house like kitchen sinks. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. And with no further ado, let's get into this evening's video, if you will. I was sitting here and I was thinking about one of my good partners, man. And a few years ago, he had gotten caught up, which he got caught with a gun. He's a felon, not supposed to have a gun. He was minding his business. He was driving, and police officer got behind him. And as they typically do, found a reason to pull him over. Said he wasn't speeding. His tags were straight, insurance, license, everything was good, had his seatbelt on. Officer still feel the need to pull him over. So they pull him over. He's giving them all, everything that, is being required of him as far as his license and, proof of insurance and everything. And the officer said it seems as though he was acting nervous. So they wanted to search the vehicle. He told the officer, no, you do not have permission to search my vehicle. They ended up searching the vehicle anyway. Sorry about that, you all. They ended up searching the vehicle anyway. And when they searched the vehicle, they found a handgun. He was immediately taken into custody, charged with felon in possession of a handgun. Now, he ended up making bond a couple weeks later or what have you. I think his bond was $3,000. It was something like that. So he ends up making bond, and he's going back and forth to court. He hired an attorney. So basically what happens is when you catch a case, after you go through a couple proceedings like in district court, it gets waived up to circuit court, which is felony court. Once it arrives in circuit court, you have an opportunity to suppress the evidence, suppress the stop, which basically means if you have a suppression hearing, that means you put the detective or the police officer or whoever stopped you on the stands, and they have to show probable cause as far as why they stopped you. Okay, you stopped him, but why did you search his vehicle? Sometimes people win at the suppression hearing and the whole case is thrown out. But typically you're not going to win. So he had his suppression hearing, evidentiary hearing, same thing. He lost. So the entire time he's out, like the case is been, like it took a long time because of COVID and everything, and the courts were backed up, and he was just going back and forth to court for many years, actually. Many years. It came down to it, the judge said, listen, we got to make a decision. Either you're going to take a plea deal, y'all going to dismiss this, or we got to set a trial date. One of the three. This case has just been going on too long. They set a trial date. Now, the guy that I'm speaking of, he was adamant that he was going to trial. Adamant. Facing 5 to 10 for the gun. Because here's the difference. If you get caught with a firearm and you're a felon, it's 1 to 5. But if you get caught with a handgun, it's 5 to 10. And you are an habitual offender. So, technically, you could get 20 to life, which is highly unlikely, but that's the max that you're facing. Me and him would talk all the time, and he wouldn't really talk about the case too much, but, we were speaking, and I told him, I said, listen, bro, I'm not trying to get in your mix. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I totally understand how it is. You're not trying to go back to prison. He was still on parole. Also, I forgot to mention that he was on parole. But guess what he was on parole for? Child support. He was on parole for child support. Got caught up. They enhanced the sentence. I think he had like 10 years. And he goes to prison for child support. So for all of y'all that's saying, you can't go to prison for child support, I don't know what state you're in. Commonwealth of Kentucky, you can definitely go to prison for child support. Unless they've changed the law within the last, 4 or 5 years. But back then, he definitely went to prison for child support. And he did 4 years on the 10-year sentence. He had to do 2 years just to see the parole board. Then they ended up giving him an additional 2 years. So he did 4 years on a 10-year sentence on child support. So he's adamant about going to trial because he feels as though, man, we around good people. People's going to listen to me. I'm going to get on the stands and I'm going to tell those people exactly why I had a gun. You know, I'm going to let the people know. I'm sorry, my uncle just drove past. I'm going to let the people know exactly my reason for having this gun. And I would tell him, I say, listen, bro, I understand where you're coming from, but what you have to understand is this. It doesn't matter your explanation for having a gun. The problem is you had the gun. Possession's 9/10 of the law. You were caught blatantly red-handed with the gun. And that's what the prosecution, that's what they're going to stress when you go to trial. He didn't want to listen to nobody. Other people were trying to tell him. He just wouldn't listen, man. I believe God's on my side, man. God got me. I say, bro, respectfully, man, if you felt that way, God got you. Why are you carrying a gun? God got you. So what is your... See, you can't be... You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, God got me, but yet you carrying a gun, and you're saying you're carrying a gun for your protection. You know? If God got you, he is your protection. And I'm not saying that God didn't have him. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm just trying to get him to understand, like, you really sound kind of ridiculous, man, and you playing with fire. You really playing with fire with these people. Because what happens for you all that don't know, that's never been in the system, never gone to trial, never had to experience that, which is a great thing. Once you get on that stands, you open season. That's why a lot of people don't take the stands. They allow their lawyers to do all of the, do all the legal work or what have you, and they don't get on the stands. Because if you don't get on the stands, guess what? They can't bring up your criminal history. But if you get on the stands, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Have you ever did this? Have you ever did that? And they get you on the stands and they trip you up. You didn't talk to the police months ago. You don't know, years ago. You don't remember what they said or what you said, rather. And they're bringing up all these, different things that you said in the interview. And it just really makes you look kind of crazy. You feel as though, nah, man, I'm going to get on the stands. I'm going to look them jurors in the eye and I'm going to tell them, listen, I'm living in a hateful world, man. They killing people every day. Black people's getting killed every day. They running up in churches. They running up in grocery stores, schools. Everywhere you go, you see people with guns on their hip. But I can't carry a gun because I've had a conviction for child support. I have 5 kids. I have to protect my family. So no, I was not trying to hurt anyone, but it was just for protection. Once again, I told him, I say, all that sounds good. And it's the truth. But at the same time, you broke the law, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's how they're going to look at it. Like, you broke the law. You won't listen to me. I just quit talking about it. I totally quit talking about it. Had a couple more court dates. He ends up going to trial. When he goes to trial, as we all knew, the jury comes back guilty. Guilty of felon in possession of a handgun. The jury recommended the low end of the sentence, 5 years. Even 5 years, man. Could have gotten 10, but they gave him 5. However, that's just in the first phase of the trial. There's a second phase, which is the sentencing phase. I've talked about it in other videos. Now the jury is able to actually see your record. Yeah, they know you're a felon when you're on the stands, but they're just looking at it like, okay, he's a felon, but it's for child support. And you should take care of your kids. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here minimizing that. You definitely need to take care of your kids. But now the jury sees everything. Everything that he's ever been charged with, everything. So they ended up giving him, they gave him 5 for the gun, and then ended up getting 9 more years as a persistent felony offender. So he ended up with a 14-year sentence. Out of that, actually he got 15 years. I'm sorry. They gave him 10 years on the persistent felony offender, 5 years on the gun. Now, what's so messed up about it is out of that 15-year sentence, if it was a regular 15 years, which like is without the felony, persistent felony offender charge, you do 3 years and then have a chance to go home. You see the parole board. In his particular case, being that he was a persistent felony offender and it was his third felony, guess what? 10 flat. He has to do 10 years straight before he has an opportunity to get out. And it's so crazy and it's so unnecessary. The people offered him 2 years. That was his offer, 2 years. But he was so stubborn and pig-headed, he didn't want to take the 2 years. Not to mention, you still got a little backup time left on your parole, but that's not really going to make a difference. That's not really a big deal in Kentucky. People catch cases on parole all the time. That's not really, I mean, it's a big deal, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to really make you, it's not like you have to finish your parole time before you start on your new time. That's basically what I'm saying. 15 years, man, and he got to do 10 flat. 10 flat, 120 months. All because he didn't want to, hold himself accountable. 2 years opposed to doing 10 flat. See, if he had got the 2-year sentence, he would have did 4 or 5 months, seen the parole board. They probably would have told him, here, give us another year, 15 months. You come back in another year, 15 months, I'm going to let you go. So he would have did, a year and a half? Possibly, 20 months, something like that. But now you have to do 10 calendars before you go up for parole. And 9 times out of 10, he's going to come home. But that's just, it's unnecessary and it's ridiculous, man. A lot of these people, man, that catch cases, their conviction rate is high for a reason. Because most people cop out. They plead out. If you know you're guilty of something, if you know that you're guilty of something, I can see you acting like you're going to go to trial. I can see you, taking it all the way to your trial date or a couple of days before your trial. Man, you better take that plea deal. Get it down as low as you can possibly get it. If you go to trial, man, them people ain't no empathy, ain't no sympathy for you. The jury tried to show him empathy by only giving him 5 years. But then when they seen, like I said, is his whole entire criminal history, nah. Now, they could have given him 20, an additional 20, but they gave him an additional 10. That goes on top of the 5 years that they gave him for the gun. For the gun. So that's how he arrived at 15 years. Y'all catch these cases in the unfortunate event, like I said, if you know you're guilty, don't try to take these people to trial, man. They will knock your socks off, man. I've seen dudes, man, locked up this, people been forgotten about them. Been locked up 15, 20, 25, 22 years. Went to trial, gave him 50 to life. 40, got to do 85%. You can't do that, man. You got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. In that particular situation, he should have folded. I've been there. My last case, the same exact scenario. I was like, nah, man, these jurors, I get on the stands. I'm going to tell the juror exactly what happened. It wasn't like that whatsoever. They filed what's called a 404B on me, prior bad acts, which means their intentions to bring up my entire criminal history in front of the jury. Once they did that, it was already going to be a difficult situation. It was going to be a difficult situation for me to win in the first place. But once they filed the 404B rather, prior bad acts, this is this guy's MO. This is what he does. How am I going to win that? So I got to plead out. Yeah, man. Give me a 2 years, man. Give me a 2 years. Ended up doing 2.5 years on a 2-year sentence because I still had some backup time. But I came home. If I didn't and I went to trial, I'd probably still be incarcerated. You can't try these people. These people are not playing. A lot of people think that, I don't know where this false perception comes in. I had an attorney tell me, she said, listen, and she was one of the better attorneys back in her day. She said, listen, a lot of, not to offend you, but a lot of inmates, a lot of you guys, figuratively speaking, you all think that the Commonwealth is really afraid to go to trial. They just prefer not to go to trial, because why go to trial when we can, get a conviction, a felony conviction, and get on to the next case. A lot of inmates and convicts think that, ain't necessarily want to say convicts, but people that are accused of crimes, they think, well, shoot, I'm gonna make them spend the money. She was like, do you know how much money they have? A certain account to where every year money goes into this certain account for trials. And whatever year, whenever, like at the end of the year, when money's left over, it rolls over into the next year. She was like, do you know how much money that they have in that account? They don't care nothing about going to trial. Yeah, they would like to avoid it. They don't want to go to trial for 3, 4, 5 days, a couple weeks or what have you, when they can get a plea deal, a conviction, and you take accountability for your actions, and boom, on to the next case. That's why they tax you so hard when you go to trial. It's called a trial tax. People really think that going to trial is hurting them. No, it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you just like it hurt my partner, man. 10 years, 120 months is what he'll do before he goes up for parole, when he could have just taken a 2-year sentence. Plain as day, got caught with the gun. Fingerprints is on the gun. Guns in his truck. Trucks in, everything's in his name. You can't dispute it. You lost your evidentiary hearing, your suppression hearing. Should have taken the 2 years, bro. Should have taken the 2 years, man. You find yourself in this situation, unfortunate event, you happen to be facing them people, or you guilty. I'm not saying take the first offer. They'll come at you. It's the only offer we're going to offer you. You don't take it today, then we'll never offer it to you. Don't be afraid. They'll always offer you more, because they don't want to go to trial, but they will take you to trial. And when they do, that's your ass, Mr. Postman. Because they're going to get you. Oh, yeah, they're going to get you. So be mindful of that. Heck, you got people that didn't do it and take plea deals just for the simple fact that they're afraid of going to trial. I know. If you didn't do it, I wouldn't do it. Yeah, it's easy to say. It's easy to say. You got this attorney telling you, like, listen, I'll take this to trial for you, but I don't think I can beat this. Because they have this, they're saying that, you got this witness, and you're sitting there like, I didn't do anything, I didn't do it. So yeah, you can go to trial and take your chances on, an appeal years later. If you're granted an appeal, only 5% of people are granted an appeal. So, you want to take your chances with that 5%. This is something for you all to think about, man. I know it all sounds cool. Yeah, I'm going to take them to trial. They're going to have to... Okay. They will. They can and they will. Decision's yours. Real Kids TV. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive.